Now, mic boosters are a popular addition whether you're doing live performance or recording. Even if your preamp can drive a hungry mic like this Shure SM7B, adding a mic booster will give you more range of control in your preamp. And we all know that that additional range of control, not having to push your preamp up as high, is one way to get better sound. And so today I'm going to take a look at the SE Dynamite. And before we even do the test, they certainly win the award for most inventive packaging. Now, when it comes to mic boosters, we have a lot of choice, varying levels of boost or gain, and also coloration. Now, in terms of the SE Dynamite, we're told to expect 28 dB of gain and no coloration of the sound. So let's see if that's the case. So the most basic test we can do is just my voice connected with and without the DM1 or Dynamite mic booster. Starting out here, we have the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6 set a gain at 4, no booster on here, and this is the tone you get. Now I'm going to add the mic booster up and you can listen if there's any difference. Now I've added up the DM1, of course, using 48 volts phantom power from the Scarlett 8i6. Biggest thing here is I had to reduce the gain to 11 o'clock so that I get it about the same as I had before without the booster. And so can you hear a difference in my voice comparing one to the other? My monitoring, it sounds pretty much the same. Again, it's a little difficult to hear when you're speaking at the same time. I'll listen to it back in post, of course. But for the first test, is the same. Do you hear any coloration? We're definitely getting a lot of boost. Does using the SE Electronics DM1 change the sound of my voice? Does using the SE Electronics DM1 change the sound of my voice? Now, of course, the frequency analysis comparison here isn't going to be exact. After all, I did speak individually each time, recording both with and without the booster, but it'll give us an idea anyways. And so looking at the linear comparison, we can see that there's virtually no difference. Nothing that would make me think I'm going to hear the sound or it's going to be colored in any way. Let's take a look at the log comparison. That gives us a better idea of what we'd hear. And now looking at the log comparison, again, we can see that there's really no meaningful coloration to the sound. Again, this isn't an exact test. We're going to use a sine sweep as well as individual tones to give us a more precise analysis. But off the bat, I would say that this booster isn't really coloring the sound. That's what we're told from SE Electronics. Now, the sine sweep tests were done under a more controlled environment using a Shure SM57 in an ISO box to record the sweeps. And you can see looking at the linear analysis that there's virtually no difference again between them. I mean, it's not exact, but within the accuracy of the tests, I'd have to say that there's no coloration going on. And the log analysis bears out the same thing, that we're really not getting any coloration of the sound across the 20 to 20,000 hertz frequency response range. If anything, maybe small variances within maybe half a dB, but certainly nothing that's going to make it sound very, very different. And so now comparing the two amplitudes for with and without the DM1, we can see that we get almost 28 dB, just under, it looks like about 27.5 dB of boost. And so again, what we're promised is being delivered here. That to me is definitely a pass. Now, to include further detail, I also did tests at 3 discrete frequencies. So first looking at 400 Hertz, I found we had a boost of 27.56 dB. So again, totally in line with specs and what I would expect here. Now with 1K, I measured 27.13. And while that's a little less boost than we had with 400 Hertz, it's certainly within specs. I mean, we're talking less than half a dB difference here. Nothing that's really going to create a lot of coloration to the microphone. And the measurement for 8K was 27.06 dB of boost. Again, well within specs. We're within a half a dB all the way across the range here. So I have to say that coloration is really not happening with this booster. That's exactly what I was looking for. And boost is certainly within what we're promised. So I want to do a comparison here with self-noise. So at the bottom, there's a screenshot with the Scarlett 8i6 and a 150 ohm resistor at maximum gain. So that's as much noise as we're going to get out of the interface preamps itself. You can see that we're sitting, well below minus 85, probably around minus 88 dB. Now, live at the top of the screen, I have the DM1 connected into the Scarlett 8i6, again with a 150 ohm resistor. And I'm going to gradually increase the gain, and we can look at the difference and see what we're getting here with the DM1. So of course, with gain at nothing, we're starting out below what we had at maximum with the 8i6 alone. Now I've turned it up to 11 o'clock, and that's where we've been using it. That's kind of the usable range with the SM7B. And you can see that with, applying the necessary gain, we're still sitting well below that minus 80 range here. Again, closer to minus 90 at the maximum dB. Now I moved it all the way up to 3 o'clock on the gain, and you can see here we're getting closer to that minus 70 dB. We'll say maybe minus 72 or 3. So definitely we're getting more noise coming in now. And now I'm at maximum gain, and I can see here looking at the graph that it's around minus 60 dB. Now this is a bit unfair because there's no way we're going to need to use this much gain with the DM1 connected up. But again, at a usable range, backing it off to again around 11 o'clock where we'd need to be, self noise is still well below minus 80 dB. Plenty of separation from signal and background noise. Now, of course, preamp compatibility is important for a mic booster. So up to now, everything's been using the Scarlett built-in preamps. Now I've moved over to the Universal Audio 710. I do have it routed through the processing on the ART voice channel, but not the preamp on the channel. It's in after that. And so I've got the UA 710 gain set around 4 here, and not 4 o'clock, 4 on the dial. And so minimal gain for an SM7B. I'm getting everything that we need here with the DM1. And from my monitoring, it sounds fine. I'm not hearing any, any terrible coloration or any, off frequencies or anything. I'll move it over now to the ART voice channel. That's going to be a 100% tube preamp, and we'll see how that sounds. Now I moved over to the ART voice channel preamp. I have the gain set at about 930. That's roughly 26 dB a gain there. So between that and the DM1, I'm getting everything I need to drive the SM7B here. And as you can hear again, no major coloration or anything going on. It sounds very similar to what I had with the UA 710. Of course, I had the 710 on solid state mode. So this is tube now. It's going to be a little different. But again, nothing that's a big difference. Works very well here. Normally, if I want to have the SM7B connected directly up to the ART voice channel, I need to have the gain up closer to around 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So moving it all the way back to 9:30, we're getting plenty of boost that's fully compatible with this tube preamp. One last one, we'll check out the DBX286S. And finally, we're connected up to the DBX286S, another solid state preamp. I have the gain set at about 1030, so that's giving us about 25, 26 dB of gain, plus the DM1 is plenty to drive the Shure SM7B. Tone's going to be a little different just because the processing is different here, but overall, no issues, no frequencies are really, jumping out at me as being a problem here. So I'm going to say the DM1 is probably very compatible. Of course, I can't test all preamps, but this gives us a good idea. Now, there's not a lot to say about the build quality of the DM1 from SE Electronics, other than that it's solid like everything they make. It's all metal construction here. We've got 2 screws that hold the body together. You can take it apart in case you need to service it ever. Highly unlikely. Spring connection and locking for the XLRs are great here. No issues again. Fits well into the cables. Really solid. Can plug it directly in on the microphone if you want to as well. I like to do my tests with about a 10-foot cable after it because I think, for a live application, you might want to do something like that. You may not want to have this hanging off of a vocal microphone or something. So again, I had to pick one method. That's what I choose to do. But overall, very solid. You can expect this to last a long time. So now that you've had a chance to hear this mic booster as well as look at some audio tests, I'll give you my final thoughts. So when I think about a mic booster, I'm looking for a few things. First of all, is it giving me the boost that I'm promised? And absolutely the SE Dynamite passes that test. We're sitting just under 28 dB of boost, which is a ton of gain. No issues there. Second, what about coloration? This booster promises no coloration to the sound, and I would have to say that that's reasonable. The differences in the frequencies that I measured were so small that you wouldn't hear any coloration from this booster. So again, it's giving you what they say. And the third thing is compatibility with preamps. Now, of course, I can't test it with all preamps, but we've gone with the interface preamp and the Scarlett. We got the UA 710, the ART tube preamp, as well as the DBX286S preamp. No issues with any of them. The booster is very compatible. So I think no matter what gear you have, no matter what your setup is, the SE Dynamite is likely to fit into that nicely. And at the time of recording, the booster sells for about $100 US. So I'm going to say there's good value here for the amount of boost that you're getting if you need something, again, with about 28 dB of gain. Of course, there are other options. If you're interested in the Cloud Lifter or even the Clark Technic as an affordable option, check out one of these videos.